It's time to talk about Scarlet Witch. She's a hero that tends to get overlooked as you play the game more, but that's a mistake. She's considered a low-skill hero, but now that the game has settled a little bit, I think that there's more to Scarlet Witch than people realize. I've been having amazing games with her against really good players, because when the Scarlet Witch knows what they're doing, she's incredibly hard to deal with. And why I wanted to make a guide on her? I have 4 reasons. 1, she's new player friendly. Very popular pick for newer players, so if you're new to the game, welcome. Scarlet Witch is awesome. I'm going to show you how to get the most out of her. 2, she has one of the best team-up combos in the game. One of the strongest synergies with Magneto. Their Chaotic Bond allows Magneto to use a ranged sword that deals a massive 95 damage for 10 seconds. It's a ranged attack, and Magneto players get really excited about that.
Ooh. We're Wanda, I'm gonna go Magneto again.
3, she actually counters a lot in the meta that you're seeing. Because after playing her more, I realized she's a direct answer to a lot of the common threats in the game. From ultimates to dive, a ton of things. I'll show you exactly how her abilities counter those situations perfectly. But the last part, early on, and I'm sure you did too, used her kind of defensively. She's really good at flanking. But over time, my game sense improved, as I'm sure yours did as well. I found that Scarlet Witch thrives as an aggressive, pretty much frontline hero. And that sounds crazy, but her kit allows her to do that. There's a lot to talk about. Her primary attack is Chaos Control. Unleashes chaotic magic on enemies, dealing damage based on a percentage of their max health and restoring chaos energy, which is similar to Wolverine's health-based damage. It's infinite ammo, so you can just keep holding down the button. It locks onto the nearest enemy within 20 meters and has a 3-meter radius, so you don't have to aim perfectly on them to hit them. The damage is 6 plus 0.3% of the enemy's max health per hit. So as an example, Doctor Strange has 600 health. 6 plus the 0.3% of his max health means that Scarlet Witch, with her primary, deals 7.8 damage per hit. Opposed, let's say, a Luna that has 275 health, it means this primary attack will deal 6.83 damage per hit. And these hits register every 0.1 second. So even though the damage seems small, it adds up very quickly. Like the time to kill for a 275 health target is about 4.03 seconds just holding down the button, but that's not considering her other abilities. They're gonna go down faster than that. As you land hits, every hit with Chaos Control generates 0.8 charge of her secondary attack, Chthonian Burst. And that's one of the main parts of her kit. This is also a great attack for when you're being dove. I mean, any dive character, you can always apply pressure to them, always apply damage. Spider-Man, Black Panther, Iron Fist, whoever. And there's more to add to this, but just this ability is good. And same goes against flyers. Iron Man, Storm, always apply pressure. And most of the time, this pressure is enough to where they kind of panic. They want to get away from you. But you have the constant damage from her primary, and you're going to be doing more than that. You're also throwing her other main attack, which is her main source of damage. Chthonian Burst is her main damage dealer. Consume chaos energy to fire explosive magic missiles, damaging enemies. You get 4 charges. When you throw them, they travel at 120 meters a second. And at base, these charges recharge at a rate of 0.2 a second. But, as we discussed, as you land your primary, that goes up to 0.8. Much faster. You're going to be going between both attacks, and we'll talk about that more in a second. This attack deals 2 separate damage numbers, 35 damage for the projectile impact and 35 damage for the spell field. So, 70 total damage on a direct hit. This attack experiences 0 damage drop-off. So even though her primary is 20 meters and in, these can go in a straight line, 120 meters a second, any distance, and they will always deal 70 damage. You can splash walls, you can splash their feet. It's got a 3-meter spell radius, and that'll deal 35. But you want to land direct impacts. Because if you land this back-to-back, she throws them out fast, very fast, 140 damage. Just huge, quick damage. You land all 4 back-to-back, it's 280 damage, and that's just from this attack, not counting your primary. Because with your primary, you're going to be holding down the button, about 70 damage a second. So you hold it for a second, 70 damage, then you start throwing these out for 70 damage a pop. So if you have charges and enemies in sight, just throw them all out. Deal as much damage as you can. If they have 250 health, 275, with the help of your primary, you'll even get through healing. And I didn't mention it, but versus certain characters that really depend on things, she's a nightmare, like Moon Knight. Moon Knight has a very tough time against Scarlet Witch. But how do you want to use this attack? And I'll talk about it more and recover it in the playstyle section, but I'm a believer that if you have these charges, you need to use them. That, of course, means that you have a direct line of sight on an enemy. Zero in on them and throw them out. Like I said, this could be helping the front line. You're dealing 300 plus damage with these back-to-back attacks counting your primary. It's easy damage. But if you don't have them, if you use them all up, there's a couple ways to go about it. Most of the time, you can just hold both buttons down. And what that does is that whenever a charge fully recharges itself, she immediately throws it. So her animation, she's doing her primary, it's charged up, immediately throw it. Charged up, immediately throw it. It's like, again, 70 damage from primary, then 70 chunk damage from this. 70 damage primary, 70 chunk. But it's very important that you do land this attack. It's your main source of dealing damage. And what I like to do at times, and I go in between these two methods, one is just holding both buttons, that way she gets out her burst attack whenever it comes up. But another way is to get enough for 2 of these charges. You get them, you throw them back to back, and then do damage again, because it's the same thing. It really helps go through healing, and it works a little bit better if that's in play, because you're holding down the primary button, dealing a total of 130, 140 damage, and then back-to-back 70s for 140. Or if you have the healing, you can throw all 4, hold your primary down, get them all back, then throw all 4 again. All of these work. All of these are extremely effective, no matter which way you use it, and you can and will be aggressive with it. A lot of heroes you go up against have a real hard time dealing with you, because you have a lot of pressure. And again, we'll discuss it in the playstyle section. And then we get into her other abilities that make both of these attacks powerful. Dark Seal is a stun ability. It's on a 12-second cooldown. Land a hit on a target or the scene, press E to generate a force field that periodically stuns enemies within range. You're gonna press the button, then you're gonna press it again. It travels at 40 meters a second. For its range, it's a 3-meter spherical radius, so it's a bubble. It stays up for 4.5 seconds, and it detects every 1.25 seconds. When an enemy gets hit by it, they're stunned for half of a second. It's something that stops them right in their tracks. It's excellent versus dive. Whatever they're doing, it just stops and stuns them. Take an Iron Fist. No chance for this guy. And in this case, I just placed it in a choke point I knew he would try to be aggressive in, and it was done for. If you or your strategist are getting a lot of heat from dive, you can focus your attention on them, place this down, and play in it, play around it, or try to place it on them, place it in a path they will go. All of these dive characters, I mean magic, stops her mid-attack. It stops her from going into limbo, using the stepping discs. All of them. Spider-Man, you name it. It's one of the most useful tools in her arsenal because she can peel very, very freely. It has a pretty long cooldown, but whenever you use it, it works very well. And keeping in mind, whatever you stun, you have your allies around you, but you yourself are just dumping damage into them. Constant damage, primary and secondary fire, over and over. And you get a Black Panther, a Spider-Man magic, especially if they get stunned multiple times from the same ability, they just get stuck in there. It's a very, very hard counter. It's hard for them to get away. But you can and will throw this into the front line with your tanks, because what this does, it'll stop a Doctor Strange from putting up his shield. He has to get out of the stun. It'll take Thor out of his awakening rune. Whatever attack they're doing, it's going to stun them. They have to get out of it. You can throw it on a Jeff after he ults your team. When he comes back, he's going to be stunned. Like, the list goes on and on. It's a powerful ability that's going to net you big plays. We then have Mystic Projection. This ability is what brings it all together, everything. And I feel it's one of the most powerful abilities in the game. It's a get out of jail free card, and you have 2 charges of it. Enter the phase state of free flight, press again to exit early. 2 charges, and the recharge speed is 8 seconds per charge. When you press the button, you can move freely up and down. You can press it again immediately to get out of it, but it lasts for 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, you get a 50% movement boost, so you're faster. Fly up and down all around in those 2 seconds. It's great for flanking, getting to areas normal characters can't get to, up on ledges, just great in general to move around the board. But in this state, you have immunity, and that's what's powerful about it, meaning that all ultimates you're gonna bypass. Like this Thor. He got panicky, decided to use it. I just waited there. Kind of timed it to where I knew that his attack would come down. I just used Mystic Projection, bypassed it, took no damage, cleaned him up. Doctor Strange stuns. You see that animation coming? Use this ability, go immune. Right when it's done, get out of it and start attacking him. Or stun him so he can't do a lot of damage to your team. A Jeff ult's coming, an Iron Man, Magneto, Namor, Psylocke, Bucky, you name it. You are immune. You just bypass it. You avoid it. And Bucky's the best because they see that you're low health. You do this, you kind of fly away. They have a hard follow-up because you can do it again and waste a total of 4 seconds and ultimately end up wasting his ult. This ability can avoid pretty much any ult in the game, and that's a great ability to have, especially since you have 2 of them. But as I started with, it allows her to be ultra aggressive. Like I said, get out of jail free. Like, you can be in the thick of things, doing as much damage as you can, and when you get low, get out of jail free. Just go right back to your back line, get healed. Then you're gonna go right back in. Hopefully, you're gonna last at least 6 seconds in there. You're gonna have 1 on reserve and get the one that you just used right back. Meanwhile, you're doing a whole bunch of chunk damage with those burst charge attacks. You're gonna be using it to get in the air to a flyer, put pressure on them, get out of danger. It's a second and a third life in chaotic fights. And it truly is what makes her entire kit flow together. Maybe you get dove, or maybe you're about to, just go into the state. Like, you see a Black Panther getting ready to throw the javelin, or they throw the javelin, or a Spider-Man getting ready to dive from the air. You can make them miss and just kind of waste their cooldowns. Even if you get hit by the initial dive attack, or even a Bucky stun, he's gonna pull you right to him, and you're just going to float away. Oftentimes twice, because you're really, really low. This is very, very powerful. She also has Telekinesis. Hold space to fall slowly. It's great for when you do get up in the air versus flyers. You can get more time to have your primary on them. And you can also change this to a tap. That's what I have, meaning that while in the air, you just tap the button and she's going to fall slowly instead of just holding it the whole time. Up to you. Pure chaos. It used to be feared, then it kind of became a meme. But as the game has progressed, I am telling you this ultimate does have a place. It's in a perfect position. Engage in free flight while charging energy, then unleash it to deal massive damage. This goes out 15 meters in a sphere, a huge bubble. It takes 4 seconds to fully go off. When you use this attack, she slows down a little bit, but you also get 100 bonus health. The attack deals 750 damage to those hit by it, no matter how far away they are from you, as long as they're 15 meters in that sphere. You're going to be using this ultimate at very specific times, and the biggest downside is being stunned. That's where your misses are going to come from. A penny web, Bucky hook, Spider-Man web, sleep, frozen. Those stuns are what hurts you. But if you get stunned, you're still going to retain 50% of your ultimate energy. You can try again later. But why this is so good, and almost a guaranteed thing, is how the meta has been played out. Again, Wanda's ultimate is perfectly placed in the meta. Like, extremely undervalued. Because how many times in a match, just a match, I'm not even talking about your whole play session for the day, are there dueling support ults? You pop Invisible Woman on your team, they pop Cloak and Dagger. You pop Mantis, they pop Luna. You pop Luna, they pop Luna. Every game. This is free real estate. The ultimate is the ultimate counter. Her damage takes an enemy Luna out of her ult, a dagger, when they're in their ult, all of them, any of them. So when dueling supports happen, your team has the upper hand because you can use it freely. When this happens, your team's going to win the support off because of Wanda. It is so good. It is satisfying. It has a really high success rate if dueling support ults are going down. The only thing you need to watch for are those stuns because you're going to heal through everything else because you guys have a support ult up. So your main usage is when dueling supports happen, but it's also going to be when you guys have a support up and they don't. Your team pops a Luna, a Mantis to grab a point. Again, free real estate. You can survive all the damage because you're inside of a support ult and you will clear everything 15 meters in end. There's also going to be times when you have to try to take out their support ult with no support around you. A blind throw sometimes. You have to be careful, usually popping behind cover, but your goal is to try to take out that support ult. I mean, that can and does happen. And one of the best things about being teamed up with Magneto is he can bubble you while you're in your ult. That also helps, especially if you guys don't have a support ult up. That's why they work so well together. His bubble helps your ult, and just being there gives him that super sword. Your main uses, though, are going to be when you have a support up and they don't, or both of you have support ults going. Both cases, Wanda is free, and it's literally match-changing, game-changing. A very, very underrated good ult right now. So now I want to put it all together in steps to get the most out of her. And I'm staying true with my analysis of her being super aggressive. You're going to have times where you flank and you try to focus and get rid of problematic heroes. It could be a Hawkeye, it could be a Storm. Of course, do that. You're going to do that. But I found that she does best when you stick around the front line by your tanks, specifically behind your tanks the best that you can. And yeah, it sounds crazy, but this works for multiple reasons. And I want to break it down. Your primary goes through allies. And not only that, you have a 3-meter cushion anyway, so you can aim to the side and you're still going to get hits. But behind your Thor, Groot, Strange, other DPS, you're just behind them holding down the button, getting constant damage, because whatever enemy is there within 20 meters, it auto-attacks. They're getting hit. So you're applying constant pressure, constant damage, and your other main damaging attack, the Burst, also goes through allies. And this is your main source of damage. And what's nice being 20 meters and in, right there in that front line, you're always getting that charge as fast as possible to throw the charges out. You're getting the fastest refresh. And you're also going to be in range of their supports and DPS as well, because they're going to be up in the front line or the supports are going to be a little bit behind them. Those are your main targets. I want you to fully realize her survivability and damage output. It's constant damage, 70 DPS a second pretty much from her primary, sometimes more than that, and everything is just back to back to back. Doing that damage, throwing the burst shot, 70 here, 140, 240, 210, whatever. Just from you, she can down enemies quick, and she can help take out targets quick. Your hits on the front line are going to be off of their other tanks, other heroes, and sometimes you just focus something down, you're going to throw all 3 or 4 shots right at the tank, get them out of the way. That's fine, because whoever you're there with can help clean it up. And while you're here, the moment that you take more damage than you should, you dip out. That's it. You phase, go to your back line to get healing. And what's nice about that, you're going to be coming right at the healer and you're going to show critical health. So you're going to be pretty much a priority. You get healed up quick. You start moving back in, applying pressure, get back up there and you do it again. Then when you get low, rinse, repeat. You basically have 3 lives. Do not doubt the damage that she does. Don't gloss over it. Don't think that she's bad. It's very underrated damage. It's good. Like right here versus a Star-Lord in their ultimate. Remember, that's just auto aim. Like using my kit, I was able to work around it and take him out while hitting his ult. She's just a really, really good hero. But in that front line, you're also going to use the stun when applicable. It could be on a Strange, another tank. Slow them down. It stops their attacks, stops their abilities. Like in Strange's case, he can't put his shield up. He has to get out of the way of the bubble. Or maybe a Magic's moving through the front line to get a dive going. Stun them, slow them down. And if you get dove, that could also mean you're playing mid to back line too. That's fine. You're playing more of an assassin role and you get into like a true 1v1, the moment that you get dove or see your supports getting dove, you're going to do one of two things. One is immediately phase, because this reestablishes the fight. It kind of starts it over. It's a redo. And when you do this, you're avoiding the initial damage or the immediate follow-up damage. So the Panther might hit you with the spear, but not with the dash. Or you might make him miss the spear. You're just resetting things, and a lot of time, you're baiting out their cooldowns. You're getting them out of the way. From there, you're keeping pressure with your primary. You're trying to land big shots with your secondary, the burst. And the same deal goes for your supports. They need help, you peel, you help them out. Because in range, when you look back there and look on them, it's just auto-aim, vacuum, constant damage. Then you have those big burst shots, and they get very uncomfortable fast. Throw your stun bubble down where they are, where they're going to be, put it in their path, or right on them. It helps you and the support stop the dive and take them out. When your team pops a support ultimate, it's time to take people out with your ultimate because you have free range. Same goes when both teams pop supports. When that happens, it's time to just end that fight and win it. She's very strong in that case. So if you haven't played her in a while, I encourage you to play her like this. Ideally, and most of the time, somebody's going to pick Magneto, and they're going to have that powerful team up. Just be super aggressive right there at the front. Her damage adds up so fast, and she has amazing cleanup potential. It's fast enough that you do give people problems that they don't expect, and it's fast enough that if their aim is off or just not too good, it's over for them. It's too much pressure. But even if they're really, really good, they're an advanced player, they have good aim, she does very well against them because all the things in her kit, the get out of jail, the chunk damage, the stun, easy point and shoot chunk damage, all of it. I mean, literal auto aim for her primary. So play her aggressive and keep pressure. I think she's going to surprise you and the other team. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Scarlet Witch down below. I think she's very, very strong and gives the meta itself of what's being played a hard time. And as always, share your tips, help each other out, gather as much information as you can. Let's talk about it down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.